Hey, good evening, Ken at Tortoise Capital. This is coaching for Thursday night, July 23rd, 2026, post World Cup, post soccer camp. We had our last soccer camp session this morning, a water pistol fight. We got even with coach. So it's almost like being back to work for me now. Heading out to Michigan on Saturday morning for a week. So I'll be doing from on-site locations up there. Kevin, how are you doing?
I'm doing all right. Too much work. Sorry, at the shop. And it's too hot. So I'm grumpy. I mean, I
Yeah.
people don't realize how warm we get in Canada.
Well, we on Monday it was 104 degrees at 6 o'clock in the evening when we went to dinner. So I don't actually want to hear it unless you can beat that.
No, I can't. It's hot enough. You
But it
know,
was like 90 degrees
but the
humidity or
sun, yeah, I
98%
know.
humidity too.
So the sun never
Yeah.
goes away, right? So it just keeps heating
Yeah.
and heating and heating all day. So I of course my air conditioner has failed at the shop, so and I can't get a plumber because it's hot. So
Yeah.
everyone's working. Anyway,
Yeah.
that's all for me.
Lisa, how are you doing?
I'm doing just great. I implemented all the things we talked about last week, so I'm just on the road, hopefully.
Did it help?
Oh, yes, it did. I didn't, it's
Good.
not that my week was so great trading, but I didn't make any mistakes in the sense, I kept on track with, I
Yeah.
started the new journal, I didn't do anything crazy.
Were you able to access the course?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
yes, yes.
All right. There's a page in there that has all the recordings of the weekly sessions for the years. So that'll get you caught up on the back. I'd start with 2026
Okay,
and uh and just go forward from there.
will do.
Jonathan, how are you doing?
Doing fine. Was out of town the last couple of weeks in Colorado. So my daughter is singing with the Central City Opera
Yeah.
this summer. So we went out there, and we've got some family out there near Vail that we spent some time with.
Hmm.
So it was about 8,500 to 9,000 feet for a couple of weeks. So coming from sea level, it took me a little while to get used to that. So just about as I was hitting my stride, it's time to come back. So enjoyed it out there, and just getting back into trading, trying to get back in the groove.
Okay. Doke. Well, yeah, yeah, all is well here. And just yesterday that sniper frame of the day picked Tesla, and man, it got murdered today. Huge gap down and straight sell off all day. It was like it's like hitting that inside straight. Felt like today on Tesla. So, all right, who's up first? Who's getting something first?
Well, I guess I can go. It's been a couple weeks.
Okay.
So yeah, my most recent project, I guess I started right before I left, and continuing this week is um, I'm wanting to get um, more selective with what I'm trading, and I'm trying to squeeze out some of these trades that um, instead of thinking about, okay, are these meeting my criteria, they may, they're not an A trade, maybe they're a B trade, but I'm thinking, well, there's no reason, it could work, rather than, okay, well, this trade really is not
Yeah.
meeting my criteria. I just don't need to take that. So I want to try and stop doing some of these trades that just kind of eat away at the
Yeah.
profitability, and really take my best trades. So I'm really paying much more attention to, you know, are these in an advantageous location? Are they meeting my criteria for, the playing field that I have and how much room I have. And my best trades are really a specific behavior. They're I think I mentioned this the last time, but they're really um, second mouse trades after you get an initiative move, and then I
Yeah.
get Kata 2 or a CD or emerging dragon at the right location
Yeah.
with the right energy, and so I'm really just pretty much just looking for that.
Do you
Um,
have are you formally like grading the quality of the trades when you're taking them? Like if this was an A trade, a B trade, a C trade,
I
so
haven't
that you could do stats on it to sort of confirm that the stricter criteria is better.
I haven't been prior to this, but I am now. So I modified my log, so I'm grading them A, B, and C
Yeah.
with commentary. And I guess if they're really a C, I don't need to take them. But like
Well,
I
can
mean,
you now let me ask this, can you retrofit the grades to the trades you've taken from your trade journals? Like, going back to see, now that I have these and I've seen what I've been doing, and now that I've refined my rules, how would they have checked out? You know, because
yeah,
if your trade management rules are approximately the same, then what that does is it allows you to kind of retrofit your new entry rules or new entry criteria to existing trades, and it's still kind of a valid way uh, to do the checking, as long as your trade management skills are approximately the same. If
yeah,
not, you then have to really kind of just go to the day and then forward trade it to see how that a trade that you would have that you did take, how it would have been managed by the current management rules. So one of the reasons to take good notes and to have your rules explicit is it allows you to kind of go back and get you refined on your rule sets.
yeah. I have not done that as far as the grading like I'm doing now, but I do have the ability to do that. I've got all a detailed log, and I've got
Yeah,
screenshots of all of my trades. What I did do is I went back and looked at the kind of trades that worked well, what my stats were, on
yeah,
those trades, and time of day, kind of behavior, pattern, location, and so I was able to do, I guess, is somewhat quantitative and somewhat qualitative, but I could go back and actually grade them the way that I'm grading them now
yeah.
by
Yeah,
that
while
criteria.
you're doing it, you might take a note to yourself to say, after the moment of exit, what was the subsequent uh, maximum adverse excursion, right? In order to say, to have an appreciation for the value of your stop
Yeah,
rules, to say, I only got 0.7 on this one, but oh, I'm glad I got when I did. It saved me a 2 hour loss if I'd have just, you know, if I didn't have any exit rules.
yeah. I did go back and do that. I've got all the maximum favorable excursion during the trade, after the
Yeah.
trade,
Okay.
and that actually I've been modifying how I take profits based on that. I just was having most of my trades actually went in my favor to some degree,
Yeah.
but I wasn't taking profit quickly enough on my most favored trade. So I'm right now, until my stats tell me that I'm getting out too soon, which they haven't been. My percentage capture has
Yeah.
really been good with me, taking profits at levels.
Yeah.
Then I mean, as soon as that changes and the markets it keeps going and going and going, rather than what I'm seeing, especially right now, is it gives you an R, gives you an R and a quarter, and then that's kind of it for where I
Yeah.
normally get in.
Yeah.
Um,
If you're doing the stats on the maximum adverse excursion after your exit,
mhm,
and if you said that was between 100 and 0, 100 was the maximum favorable,
yeah,
then you got out somewhere, then the maximum adverse excursion, you place that at 0. If it turned out that you were getting out at around the 70 mark or 80 mark, then in the back of your mind that you should start thinking about, there's another trade on the other side of that going the other way. And then you won't know that
Yeah.
until you kind of look at that stuff to determine. That's how you answer the question. The standard framing questions include if it gets to a favorable win and I take my profit protection, is that a stop and reverse, or is it just a stop and move on, or is it a stop and reframe, or is it a stop and reverse if the following conditions are in play? Like
Yeah.
if the prior move was a big gap up at the end of it, like a semiconductor, it was a really outrageously good move, and then a big gap up, and then an asymptotic move up, and then a fail, and I saved 80% of the profit. That might be the case where the really extreme gain on the front end might be an indication of a potential reverse trade.
Reverse there.
Whereas just a normal
Yeah.
grinding up and a drift out of the position might not suggest that it's time for a collapsing move. So
Well,
as you look at the exits, consider looking at the while you're there, just go ahead and take a look and characterize the follow-on move. And that'll give you a sense if you're, I like my exit to be able to protect me against two adverse moves. Like I give it $1 and I'll take the exit. And then it protected me against $2 more of loss. So it's 2-to-1. It's protected me 2-to-1 in the same way I want to see 2-to-1 on the front end on the reward to risk. I'd like to see that my exits were protecting me against, significant immediate losses.
Yeah. I can go back and quantify that a little bit more. So a lot of the trades, especially more recently, I don't know that there's a lot of that, but I'll go back and actually quantify that rather than just getting a gestalt.
Yeah.
A lot of things, I'll get the impulse up and I can get an R, and then they'll just sort of do this for the rest of
Dribble. Yeah.
the rest. Yeah, not really give me a whole lot, but I'm going to keep working on. I mean, so far I'm trading a lot less, and I'm more profitable because I just don't have I'm not wasting my cognitive energy on like little wins that I had to kind of eke out a no lose plus dinner for two, or little small losses.
Yeah, I mean, I just think we're still in that market regime right now with the political economic conditions
Yeah.
that are in play, and the tech trade is exploding in the wrong, it's collapsing everywhere you look. I mean, Tesla's getting smoked. SpaceX is crumbling.
Yeah.
Netflix is hurting. Oracle's getting smashed. Microsoft's not doing well. So there's the DRAM and the SOXL are just, there's short-term volatility, but no follow through day to day in either direction, except drifting downward. So this is a case where I just think between now and November, it's just going to be this kind of market where you got a bird in the hand's worth two in the bush.
Right. Just kind of get what you can. Well, that's how it feels to me. So I'm glad that you've kind of confirmed that. I'm thinking about that the right way. So, so I'm doing that. I'm working on writing my own trading manual and really getting clear on my decision processes, how I'm making decisions, and I just get it all out of my brain and into ChatGPT and have it mirror it back to me, which is
hey, go on my
pretty
site
amazing.
at tortoisecapital.net. This may also be in the coaching course too, but there's two videos on the tortoisecapital.net that are very good. That are one of them is the plan, prepare, execute, assess. It's how to prepare from the moment of closing today's market until the open tomorrow. There's a flow chart and a procedure that I go through that's been pretty stable for a couple decades now. That maps out that decision process. where I look
Okay.
and why and how I do it. It starts with gratitude and forgiveness for the trading I just did, and ends with gratitude and forgiveness just before the open for all the crimes I'm about to commit. And then the second briefing on there is the organization of the trading day into 30-minute blocks. And it just kind of talks through what I'm looking for in the first half hour, in the last half hour, the 90 minutes at lunchtime. And so it kind of takes a look at how I organize the time of the day to look at certain moments and indicators. Like an hour in, I'm looking to see on hourly charts, are there any triple screen breakouts that requires a breakout on the hourly chart on the intraday. So
Okay.
those two are, but they're both about, less than 10 minutes each, but it has to do with normalizing the procedure for finding and framing targets, and then for managing the daily moves in half-hour chunks. So as you go through mapping your decision process, uh, that's that's kind of a model for how to do that. Uh,
Okay.
I started with the reverse engineering on it too. I said, look, at the open, I want to feel ready to trade. Right? And I said, well, what do I have to have in order to feel that I'm ready? Well, I got to have a list in priority that's systematic in nature, each of which are framed on daily and swing framing. I've answered the 7 questions for each one. I've considered them, and then, but no, how did I find the ones that were on the list? And there's a process. How did I frame the ones that are on the list? There's a process. And so as you just keep bringing it all the way back to the point where, all right, I finished today's trade. That's the beginning of tomorrow's trade. Is market closed? What do I do now to start getting ready for tomorrow's trade? Well, forgiveness and gratitude to clear the emotional deck. Then a review of the trades that I took today to see if there's any continuation trades for tomorrow, because that's going to be on the list of candidates.
Okay.
Are there any new signals? Yes or no? Are there, from any of the mechanical patterns or something like that? And then, is there any update to the list of the usual suspects? So those are the 3 sources of candidates to prepare. Continuation of today's trade, because I'm already invested in the key
Right.
price levels and I have a feel for the psychology and all that. And then any new signals, because that represents a change in the condition. It didn't signal yesterday, but it signaled today. So something changed in the underlying thing that makes it perhaps the start of a new move.
Okay.
And then all the usual suspects are just the ones that I'm always going to look at. Whether I traded them today or not, I'm ready to trade them tomorrow. And then it walks forward from there on how I do the prioritization and the framing and all that. And that's sort of a rehearsal of, yeah, if I do all those things, I should be ready to trade in the morning. Like 10 minutes before the market, I got to take a final look at the futures and early opening indications to see if anything or which of the 10 symbols on my list are going to have the biggest gap so I can start framing that up.
Okay.
So
Okay.
that's a good process to go through. That's actually what I'm going to do with the military officers here, and we start up the course in about 3 weeks, and we're going to be teaching them the complexity toolkit, which includes critical thinking and creativity, as you would expect, but also systems thinking, data literacy, and AI. And the exercise for systems thinking and AI and data literacy, that 3-headed monster, is to just start exactly with that. Hey, I feel like I'm ready to make a decision generically. All right, what do I need to have in hand what's the evidence that I can check to see if am I really ready to make a decision? And I'm going to ask them to pick a decision that they make where they have skin in the game and it matters and they're going to be professional. And we'll just start building that out. What are all the preconditions and data source? And we'll use data sources to say, to understand data literacy. Where do I go to get the data? How do I know it's good? How much do I need? What's the minimum set that I need? How much is too much? That kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And then once we get all that stuff put together, there will be a process involved. So that's going to be teaching a manufacturing system to model the decision. It starts here and it moves there. And what are all the steps and the phases and where's quality control and all that stuff? How robust is it?
Yeah.
And then if that is my mental biological decision process, what did we learn about AI that allows me to think I could use it to add value at certain stages or for certain functions? Is there ways that I can simplify that or offload it? How do I verify and how do I validate it? So that's a good place. That's a good strategy to use if you intend to do any AI work on your decision process. You got to bring AI to the workplace, and you got to be an expert in your work process, which means you got to have a process diagram and a flow chart and all that stuff, and think about your data, and then you can decide where it makes sense to apply AI to add value. So that's sort of the path you're on right there.
I've given it a lot of that kind of information, and I've been talking to it for so long. It really is interesting to see how it reflects back what I've told it and how
Yeah.
it sees how
Yeah.
I think in my decision. I mean, there's definitely been some insights there. I've been kind of
Yeah.
surprised. It's been helpful.
Yeah, I find it. I was going to use the word terrifying.
You said
If I'm
terrified?
terrifying.
It's terrifying.
Once I start having conversations with it and using previous conversations as references, and then I'll have it do a flow chart of the conversation that we just had that
Oh,
maps it
that's a
out
good
into a
idea.
single diagram.
Okay.
And you want to use McKinsey style corporate graphics because they're the big business consultant firm. And what they do is help you map your process and then find ways that it could improve compared to what benchmarks are or the best practices or something like that. So they're like business process reengineering, that kind of stuff. So I go through a dialogue with, I've been working on the Trail Boss as a brand, Trail Boss as a persona to help me make systematic decisions and incorporate personal development at the same time. I want to do things well so that I don't fail, but I also want to study how I did them to see if I can improve it. Well, the Trail Boss mentality is the mentality I use when I'm coaching in here or when I'm coaching the military officers. So I've been working on what does it mean to be a trail boss? So I've been watching all of the Rawhide TV shows back in the days. And there's actually been some character studies of Gil Favor, who was the trail boss, with Rowdy Yates, his young Clint Eastwood. And it talks about that journey and the guy's role and secure risk management first, but also trying to do the right thing and get everybody there safely and get better along the way and, do the right thing and that kind of stuff. Take care of the herd, so as I dialogue with that and I start bringing in ideas and this and that, I will periodically consolidate that and converge into a place. Hey, that was a really good conversation. I'll just tell it, study that dialogue we just had, convert it into a process flow chart using McKinsey style graphics, And if I will remember to send you an example of what
Yeah, I'd like to see that.
the
Appreciate
prompt looks
that.
like. So I have a standard language that I tell it, give me a McKinsey quality laconic systems diagram of what we just covered. So it reviews all that stuff and then it proposes what the detailed image prompt should be. And it's usually like a page long. And it incorporates all the other things that it and I have been talking about. And then it makes that graphic. And I look at the graphic and it's just, holy smokes, is that any good?
Well, that sounds like it would be really helpful because sometimes you have these long conversations, they're so
Right.
narrative, and you're trying to, well, remember everything that was said, and if it gives you a narrative synopsis, yeah, I mean, what you're describing sounds like it's pretty dense and compact. So that
Yeah,
actually would be
it
really
does
helpful.
that. So I'm going to send you sample of that. I'm also going to send you guys the gold recovery process. That's the other thing you do before you tell it to make the graphic. So when you have a long, wandering, diverging conversation or a series of them in one chat, you run the gold recovery process. And what that thing will do is systematically review all of the different pathways that your conversation took.
Okay.
And it'll identify all the trade-off decisions. Hey, yeah, we decided to go explore that over there, meaning we didn't go east, we went west. It'll go say, yeah, you didn't go east. It looks like there was something over there in the east. You elected to go west. But don't forget that east was there too. And there's some possibilities. So it'll go through and find the unfinished conversations, implied conversations, potentials for other connections, and it won't miss anything. It finds everything. Because typically when you're dialoguing with AI and you're trying to solve a particular problem with a sense of urgency, um, and then when you get that, you feel, okay, I did all the work. Well, this is like all the extra pieces that were just laying
Yeah.
around that
Yeah.
have connections to other things. When you start doing that systematically, you end up finding connections to different bodies of knowledge that you didn't necessarily see were connected. Um, so I'm having a dialogue with some business consultant. And so I've been building out the Trail Boss brand, which is about how to go from A to B safely, successfully for a profit motive. And these are the qualities that we have to have on the trail. All the members of the team got to agree to behave in the following ways so that we can be self-supporting, collaborative. Well, she has been working on, well, what do you do when you get there and you want to develop that area? More like gardening. Whereas the Trail Boss is moving, she's developing and gardening and growing things and that kind of stuff. So when we're sharing ideas back and forth, we're not trying to persuade each other that we're right or whatever, looking for areas of disagreement. The AI coined the term it was adjacent viewing. So it's like two people have come together at this spot. They're talking about their travels over there, or whatever. And it's like, oh yeah, you're seeing it from this side as a gardener. I'm seeing it from this side as a traveler. And yet there are these common connecting points. So when you use the AI as a dialogic recorder, historian, scribe, and then an analyst, uh, it'll pull out all the things that are interesting or potential, and you can have it export that to a file as your to-do list or to think about list. And that way you don't lose the ground that you explored or looked at. You don't have to pay for that twice.
Okay.
So
Well,
I'm going to send you the sample, the Trail Boss flashcards. because there's a lot of good things in there for us as traders. And then
Okay.
also the gold recovery system is, it's a good prop. It's written in the cold start protocol, so it'll work on any AI. You just drop it in as a prompt and it'll run.
Okay. Okay. Well,
So I'll
that
make a
sounds like
note
that
to
would be
myself.
helpful.
Yeah.
And if we don't have time to talk about this today, we can do it another time. But I wanted to ask you about for the story stocks.
Yeah.
Do you have any kind of process or systematic way that you
Yeah.
look for story stocks, or is it just what you happen to read about or
Yeah,
release
I mean, that's part of it. I
Instagram?
get rid of the word just.
Okay.
It'll be the stocks I'm reading about and seeing mentioned, and I'm regretting. There's always a certain sense of regret that I already missed the move.
Right. Right. That's
So
what I'm
there
trying to
certainly
avoid.
can't be any room left. Oh, there it goes again, And I have like 5 days in a row of regret. It's time for me to buy it in order to put the top in so that it can collapse. No, so
Exactly.
it's uh that would be, I'd invite you to go to the 5 frame, or yeah, go to the 5 frames
Okay.
and ask that question.
Okay. Okay.
I think I started a second notebook for us that was exclusively the coaching sessions. Because the first one, the 5 frames, has a bunch of research material and background and
Let's see.
abstract psychology and all that stuff. And it filled up the 300 sources. I think I started a new one, or I am building a new one that is only these coaching sessions, so it is much more of a practitioner and recent behavior orientation. But I would go to the 5 frames and ask that question and see what it comes up with. There's enough of the coaching sessions in there that it's going to come up with an interesting answer for
Okay.
you, because it actually becomes, the models are now good enough. You could say, now turn that into a specific filter or screen, and you'll find that it's
Okay. Okay. I'll do that.
it'll help you with that.
When I go to 5 frames, I generally just use, the dialogue window and I'm asking
Yeah,
something specific, but there's so much
yeah.
on there. We've got the whole, everything that's in the studio. I haven't learned my way around fully. I don't know if those are individual notebooks to look at, or I guess just searching
Yeah, well,
doing some
the
searching.
thing that's in the studio, everything in the studio is a note that started off with an open-ended question in the chat window, and that it answered it, and I said, "Wow, that's a really good answer. Save that as a note." So I get a
Okay.
bunch of those notes, and then you can create a note stack and make all of the notes a single source and push that over into the source files, so that all that stuff that generate integrated insights. So that's how you build an integrated notebook. You start with, I've probably had 500 sources in there at any one time, and then by writing notes that integrate insights from multiple sources, I can replace sources with the essentially hyperlinked integrating notes. And then so I can
Okay.
get rid of the original source. Now I have this concise knowledge graph of these concepts from individual sources. Like I might have said something about risk management in 50 different places. So I can just go to the chat window and say, hey, what does Ken or the coachee say about risk management? And it'll write a comprehensive note. You save that note over in the studio. You get 100 of those and make that into a single source. And now suddenly it can find all these connections again, because it's already done the work to find those connections, and it'll answer in an integrated way. Now, the other things that you'll see in the studio come from the standard report stack that are available in the studio. It'll do audios and videos, special reports, executive summaries. Slide decks are really good. So the studio offers some pretty powerful scholarly summaries, if I can say it that way. It's like having a research assistant that'll pull all these things so you don't have to hunt through the sources. It hunts through the sources and answers your questions. Now, what I would do if I were you is I would write the prompts that you're interested in. See the note that is produced. I'd copy and paste the note into a Word document, and I'd take it over to my own personal notebook and start dropping those things in there. And then you can create a tuned Q&A session that's geared strictly to what you're interested in. So let's say you did that 10 times, and now you got 10 complex notes in your sources. You can then say you've got a mapping of your research interests. You can then go over on the left-hand side where it says sources, and you can click a button that says add sources. And it will say, did you want to do fast research or do you want to do deep research? And you will say, I want to do deep research. And it'll go out and take a look at the internet and find 30 to 50 websites, books, essays, papers, presentation, blah, 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 that are based on the keywords that you place into the search file. You give it a search string. So how do you come up with a good search string? You ask it a question. You say, I want you to consult the sources that I just put into you, and I want you to generate me 4 paragraph length research strings that cover the entire area with overlap, but are focused on one particular topic or cluster of topics. And then when you run 4 deep researches, and you might pull in 20 to 30 very interesting things from the web. And now you have taken the second order of building out a supporting literature review for the things that you were specifically interested in. And then it'll identify you can get some free browser extensions like Notebook LM tools, which will go through and eliminate redundancies and all that jazz. So that's how you can start tuning an executive assistant with Notebook LM that's really geared to you. But you can use the one that I've started for us that's already interesting. Like you could even download the coaching sessions just for your cohort. Like, hey, just give me the Thursday ones and let me upload those as MP3 files. And it'll transcribe those and do all the math to categorize and stuff. But you're kind of getting that already with 5 frames, and it's worth listening really to all of them. Anyway, so there's a way that as you start thinking about standardizing and normalizing your decision processes, you can use the AI as a assistant, systems thinker, graphic illustrator, research assistant, executive summary writer, and it never gets tired. I almost feel bad sometimes how hard I make it work.
Can I jump in here for a second?
Sure.
I
Yeah.
missed where this AI package is.
In the course,
Yep.
there is there's a Notebook LM link.
Okay.
I'm making a note to send that link to you.
Okay.
It's somewhere in the I think in the introduction to the course.
Okay.
If I'm smart, I would have put it on the first like onboarding page, but I get tired. But what that does is it'll give you it allows you to use the notebook that I built, and then you can just ask it questions, and you should be able to see all of the special notes and reports
Yeah.
and audio visuals, and it's a pretty handy
Mm-hmm.
tool. Like anytime any of you guys sends me an additional question, hey, what do I think about that? I go to there and say, well, what do I think about that?
Mm-hmm.
I make a note about what I think about it, and then I ask it what it thinks I will think about it, and it's usually right.
Okay,
It's
good. I
incredible.
get you.
It's
So it's a
incredible what
good,
they do.
yeah, it's a good uh, safety net in that sense.
Yep. Okay, thanks.
Just as an aside, I'm talking to my wife all the time about the stuff I'm doing with AI, and her eyes just glaze over. I mean,
Hey, I was sitting in the damn
and
auditorium today looking at all men of a certain age, getting ready to teach these young people. Today was the AI lessons, and my good buddy was up there where I was last year, getting my brains beat in by all these old fogies. Well, AI is bullshit. Blah 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 blah. Why are you still talking? I said, because I gave this briefing to a 3-star general when I wrote his new strategic plan for him in an hour, and he ordered me to give the same briefing to you, knowing that you would hate it and that you would hate me for making you listen to it. And since I don't care about what you think about me, all your whining and moaning is actually my reward. Yeah.
It's not
well,
just the old people or older people. I work with a lot of younger people and, maybe in their 30s because,
Yeah.
they can still lift buckets and I can't.
Yeah.
And the ones that I talk to, they are vehemently against AI. And I keep telling them, I'm like, guys, you may or may not like it. You might have your reasons. They may be good, they may be valid, but I've been on this earth a lot longer than you. I mean, when I was like a teenager, we were calling 411 on for information on the phone and
Yeah.
for the weather and the time and we'd encyclopedias and you had to pay for a collect phone call. Like we're going there.
You
Like
could
Apple.
ask you could imagine a world in which you could ask a question and nobody knew the answer, or you wouldn't get an immediate set of 30 answers that'll also sell you a product. You know, it
Yeah,
was
they're
we're
possible to ask a question and not know the answer immediately.
yeah, their heels are in, I'm
Yeah.
telling you. At least the
Well,
ones I
it's like to misappropriate a quote. It's like they said this about war and about everything. And you may not be interested in AI, but AI is interested in you. And
right.
if you don't use AI, just, you are self-selecting as a member of not even the proletariat. You will be the doletariat when they put you on the dole, and the only thing valuable about you is your fingerprint and voter ID.
Well, it all changed at our house today because we're renovating a house, and I got my wife set up on chat, and I said, let's. I said, what kind? We're going to make a spreadsheet for you. What is it that you want on it? Give you every last detail you can think of and put it in there, and then let's have it act like it's a contract advisor and how you deal with contractors and all the pricing, and
Yeah.
then on and on and on and on and on. She came back after about an hour, just breathless. She's like, "What kind of magic is this?
Yes.
You know."
Who are
So
you and what have you done with my husband?
right, exactly. Her
What
eyes are
kind
no
of
longer
wizard?
glazed over, and she gets
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what it's like. So I owe you the link to Notebook LM. And the beauty is the words that we just spoke, that'll be in the transcript that gets uploaded into that session. So that once you say it, you can't ever escape. It's always there. All right, what else you got, Jonathan? You good?
That's it. Appreciate it.
Good for now. Okay. Kevin, anything for us?
Yeah. No questions today, really. I haven't I've been working on things. I'm not in the market now. I have no swing trades running.
Yeah.
Few longer term things happening, but price action obviously sucks. So I've been working on I've gone through 200 studied 200 trades so far the last 2 weeks. So, I don't know, 15, 20 a day. I'm going back through two market cycles, one or two.
Yeah.
So, like not market cycles as in market, I mean market for that stock.
Yeah.
And trying to identify the points and working on my scanning to try and find them because I don't have a fixed list of stocks. I have presently a list of the top. I figured out I've got a way to create the 20 top
Yeah.
top 20% stocks
Yeah.
performing, and then by relative strength, and then I am sorting by my research right now is for institutional type activity that I'm looking for. My price of stock should be somewhere between 30 and $80. So
Yeah.
that's my target zone. And so I'm limiting down to about 400. I end up with about 400 stocks that I'm searching. So it's still way too many to go through. I don't want to do that many a day. I can probably do about 100. So I'm working on a way to do that. So I can show you one of the things and I'm still onboarding with DeepView, which is good, but it's got its challenges. So I'm gonna share my screen. Let's see if I can make this a little bit bigger. So here's my deep view. Part of my
Yeah.
process for finding things is I can they have an automatic ranking. So there's sorry, deep view is speaking of AI, deep view is they're younger guys, working on it. The patriarch is Stan Weinstein. He's two
Yeah.
of the guys worked for Stan, okay, in his group. And so they've built Deep View to be similar to the model that Stan built for his own company internally. So they work there, they like it, but it's not available for retail. And so they've kind of come up with it. So a lot of the formulaic stuff is working there. I don't know if he has involvement or not. But the software is incredible for this kind of thing. So one of the
Yeah.
things it does is I can sort by industry, and there's 73 industries right now, and I
Yeah.
can just rank. So this here ranking of this is a broad list of 423 stocks.
Yep.
And these two are in the top. So that's the number one right now, which is life sciences. And then we have REITs and healthcare and oil and gas right now.
Yeah.
So you can see how much is going on in there. So that's the kind of, and then
Can
also
you do can you also filter that by just the sector ranking
yes. Yeah, I
and
can do sector.
then drill in and sort of
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
get into
And the cool
vector?
thing is like, so I can, if you can see over here, I can, this is the group it's in. So,
Yeah.
like it's 25. So this stock I'm looking at, which ALGM, it's 25 of 25 groups. So it's bottom of the group and its industry rank is 65 out of 73. So that's not great, but I can see where the rankings are and it'll list them for me right now.
Yeah, so
And
that's
then,
where is that where you're going to tell me you're going to take the numerical value of the sector
yeah,
and the
yeah,
numerical value of the thing.
yeah.
So you
And
want
so
number
they
1.1.
they do the math actually, and they do the math in the background, and they create what's called the relative strength.
Yeah.
So you can do a 1 month and a 3 month, and that's where I'm getting my 400 stocks from. So basically, the strongest stocks that have been acting over the last, I can do day, week, month. It gets. I mean, the part of the problem is you get information overload. So I'm really working on culling it down.
Yeah.
And then interesting things like it'll automatically compute the percent change in 10-day. So if I'm looking for a 10-day down,
Yeah.
I can just scroll through stocks, boom, 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 boom. I don't have to calculate anything. It just shows up there. So I can see this one's minus, it's been down 12% in 10 days. So given if I'm looking for a retracement to mean, then I'm going
Yeah.
to expect something around, that number. So those kind of metrics, but this one has a 57. So that's 100 is the top relative strength and 0 is
Yeah,
the
I
worst.
automatically like that when it's down 10%, 10 days, and today was positive. All
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
I automatically love it.
And yeah, and, well, positive is also this is daily closing range, so it'll tell me in the list where it closed in the on a day.
Inside
So
like an index of the day.
yeah, so I can sort these all
So
closed at
the
100
third one, the
there.
fourth one there. Okay, the top one, BCML, closed at the high of the
Yeah,
day.
yeah, closed at the height of the day.
Yep.
So I can go at the end of the day and I'll just filter out anything that's closed above 50 or 60, depending on how many there are. I can do
Yeah.
70. And then it just so anyway, that's the kind of so I've again, I'm a tinkerer, so this is a problem, but I am working actively warring against too many things. And so I'll show you one that I've created and modified myself. Also I'm looking for institutional fund
Well, that was
ownership.
just the one you got on there is pretty cool looking. The fact that it has every one of those spike downs is followed by an immediate grind up.
Yep.
And
Yep.
this one already started in the same day that it spiked down. It already started grinding up. That's actually really a favorable sign. HFWA.
HFWA. So the other thing I've been doing is that they give they're big relative strength guys, and
Yeah.
Weinstein was also. So
Yeah.
on top of stage analysis, which is similar to your seasons,
Yeah.
stages you can map them almost directly. They do state. So this is the comparison of the performance of HFWA compared to SPY, and so I can make that
Okay.
into
Nice.
I can make that into anything I want. Like I sometimes I'll if
Boy,
I'm
that's so good. When it turns, when that rolls over, you get three legs up.
yeah.
It pulls
So
back to baseline, and when the baseline is rising, the S&P is positive, and this thing's leading the way. You're getting these short sprint and capture. Comes
yeah.
back, finds support in a rising market. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
So one of the things I'm, and struggling because I'm looking for stocks that have a clear bottom and they're going nowhere. They're sitting, we
Yeah,
talked about it's kind of your catfish type thing, but
yeah.
this
They neglect.
the neglect of it is it's lagging significantly and I just don't want to see a
Yeah,
little kind of
yeah.
I
You want
want
the COTA 2 on that first
yeah, I
leg
want it.
up,
Yeah. And then I want
because instead, after
significant
that first little
diversion here.
hump, it
Yeah.
didn't come all the way back. It gave you a second leg up. Yeah, that's
So,
what
and then
you.
it'll give you a measure of relative strength. So these are all really cool features for me. So one of the cool ones I found is I've created something called Tight. So Tight is actually going to look at stocks that have a very low relative volatility.
Yeah,
So that means it doesn't mean it's flat because the math, I can't,
right.
that's really hard math to do. But this is the criteria.
Well,
So I'm
that's
looking
where
at
you have to do
absolute
something
strength.
like the 5 day range percentage Z score
Yeah,
is
like,
actually a way to do flat.
but I can't do any of that right now.
Yeah,
So I can't program anything. I can only use tools.
yeah.
It's coming, but
A
uh
lick and a promise. Yeah,
like yeah, yeah. I mean, they are going bananas. Like the amount of I get every day,
yeah.
and I was an early adopter, so I'm involved in some of the stuff, but it's just they are going crazy. They're hiring and hiring. Anyway, it's cool. So tight means so basically this screen takes my 400. It picks out 44 stocks that have low relative volatility. So you can
Yeah,
see the horizontal. I'm looking for these on a trending stock. I'm looking
yeah,
for the
yeah.
horizontal consolidation.
Moments of consolidation, right?
Yeah, and so not all of them are obvious. That's why math works,
Yeah,
but um, so this is something I'm interested in, right? That line there is automatically drawn. That's a long-term,
yeah,
those would be things I used to draw manually. I don't have to anymore. They math them out for me. So here's something I'm going to be interested in, assuming, and it's number two group and 7 out of 73, high institutional ownership, and it's been strong, right? So now we're consolidating sideways, quite tight. And then here's my SMA 30, and I'm now. So if I see this one coming out through the dragon and above
yeah.
that
You buy the high. You buy yesterday's high.
so, this is the way I can filter down. So that's one of the things I've been looking at. So here's a great example, DLX. So this one came in massive, fell out of bed right there, and positive earnings, but anyway, doesn't mean anything. Uh, and then we picked up, and this is what I'm looking for, is this
Yeah,
kind of
see that one is that's your cup and handle right there.
yeah,
It has recovered the previous cluster.
yeah.
It's pulled back for 5 days. It's still in the dragon. Now, if it takes out yesterday's high, you can aim for the 5 day high.
Right.
And then if that breaks through, then there's a long way to the next. There's a long gap for it to fill.
Yeah.
There's no resistance overhead after, let's see, looks like about $26.
Yeah, somewhere around 26. Yeah. So that, and I want a good distance. Like, so, and
Yeah.
I did some working with the super trend also. That's the same one we talked about several weeks ago.
Yeah.
And it works out really well for me. I'm using 2.2, 5 day look back and 2.2 ATR.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool. So anyway, that's just what I've been working on, and I'm going through them, finding tight stocks. I'm figuring out how to filter them down, and to go from 400 to 44, I can go through 44, and I'm not even 10 seconds now
Yeah.
to see something I like.
Yeah.
Like
That's less than 10 minutes.
right there. That's what I want, right? So I'm interested in what's happening. I know that, and the fact that they draw automatically the pivot points that are like if I went into history, sorry, if I
Yeah.
changed to weekly, you can see the history. Those pivots are automatically drawn. I can limit them how far back they go and stuff like that. Like, so there's really good flexibility. This is the intelligence they're building because modern computational can do it, whereas you couldn't do it before.
Yeah.
And then the other interesting thing that I might have shown before, I can go back to a daily, is this gap. So on the earnings day, I can right
Yeah.
click and ask Deep View AI. So it'll actually give me on that candle.
Yeah.
It'll study the day, what happened. It'll give me an idea of it. I can drill down into a bunch of it, and this permanently stays there. So next time I come back, I don't have to do it again, right? This is free AI, by the way, built in. So they they shop it, and so I get to use that for everything. So, and sometimes you'll find there's nothing, and sometimes there are things, but it's just something that's saves me so much time having to say, okay, on this stock on this day, take a picture, put it in the chat, what do you think happened on that day, right?
Yeah. Just build an agent.
It just
Yep.
like I
That's
can, and
agentic
it'll
AI.
actually
Do
this
you know
you'll
what
see
model they're using to do the writing?
right there. They go to
Probably
um
Gemini.
they're in Gemini,
I'm gonna
and
guess.
they've been using Gemini and chat, but I think they're in Gemini right now.
Yeah.
So I think they're kind of trolling, like it gets expensive, right? So they're kind of trolling for
Well,
cost.
if you can get
But
because you're not asking for complex analysis, you're just looking for
no,
summary of existing text. And the reason to go with Gemini on that would be you can just connect to Google Finance News by ticker, and then that's
right,
easy to
right.
recover. And so that's analysis on demand right there.
Yeah, and they have prompts that are page or two long behind all these, and
Oh yeah,
then
yeah.
I also build my own. So I can browse a prompt library or build my own prompts that I can bury and just have a code word for
Oh
them.
wow.
So it's there, you know what, and this is very fresh here. It'll also see the entire screen. So I can ask it to analyze this chart, or I can ask it to analyze this list of stocks and
Yeah.
tell me what industry, what stands out, what's common, what's not. And it can see all that only if I ask it to. So it's really incredible. I mean, it's just it's it
You could
and
ask it things like, give me the best three performing stocks in the worst performing sector, sort of as a try to find value that's embedded,
right. And it's you can add context to what you want. So I think
Yeah.
that I mean, like you can waste like I get like this conversation of AI is interesting to because I can see the value in it, but it's a lot of work, right?
Right.
And you've obviously you're hacking it and you're because you're doing the effort to create your own
Well,
uh
this is what I would do on the does
donut and everything
does
else.
the prompt library does it help you improve your prompt? Can you ask it to help you improve your prompt? I mean, I
good
mean,
question. I
say it
haven't.
again. Can you ask it to help you improve your prompt?
That's a good question, but I
Here's
don't
what
know.
I would do. Here's what
They,
I would
they've
do.
they, they've limited they've
Yeah.
because of cost. You
Sure.
can't ask it how much flour to put in your sourdough
Right.
recipe.
Right.
So they are limiting it heavily down to financial information.
Right.
So they do say go to your other to build stuff.
Yeah. Well, I
Um,
would always start if I could download if I were downloading their prompts, I could see that. I would just cut and paste the prompt and go to a frontier model like Claude 4.8 and say, "Hey, my my other AI is a dumb finance guy. This is what it thinks is a good prompt.
yeah,
Improve it
see
for what
what
I
happens.
want." Or,
I
or,
don't
or
know.
I would say is here's an example of the language that it uses for a good prompt. Here's the idea that I want you to express in a language that it will probably understand. And
Right.
you use its prompt as a guide to how it thinks. The AI will figure that out. And then it'll give you a custom prompt in their language. So you just jump to the head of the class.
Yeah,
That's how
so
you do that.
they don't like on their published ones, they don't publish what the prompt is.
Oh, okay.
I can't see because there is proprietary. It's $40 a month I'm paying. Like
Yeah.
unbelievable. So I'm just like, okay, I get they're not giving me. I can create my own, and when I do,
So
I
do
can
me a
actually,
favor, click on that tab that says Browse Prompt Library. And then let's see. Go ahead. Click what themes are hot right now. Okay, so it doesn't show you the prompt. It just gives you
no,
the,
it
it
just
allows you to
it's
ask
built
a
in the background.
formatted question. Okay.
Yeah.
All
The
right.
interesting thing is the makers, the creators all use it. They are active traders and they use it themselves. So they
Well,
create
here's what I want you to do. I want you to tell them as a uh, early adopter that you'd like to see some of their prompts for your own personal use so that you could nominate prompts for them to write for you
right.
and then
Okay,
show me
yeah,
their
yeah,
stuff
yeah.
and you show me their stuff. You show me some of the language that they use and then I'll be able to tune a prompt that you want written that they can execute.
Yeah.
That would be fun.
That's interesting. Okay. Yeah, I'll see. So anyway, that's been my process. It's a lot of learning, but mostly studying charts. And what I'm basically doing is
Like you could do something like ask them what news feeds are you checking, and then if you saw they were reading 5 news feeds,
yeah, it might tell me.
you
I'll
could
do
then
some
say you
I'll
could
do
then
some
say
investment.
go back for the last go back to the news events that were announced today from 5 different news sources and find me the most talked about
Right, on
the
a
20
finance.
most talked about stocks.
Yeah. No, I'm going to do some
Yeah.
poking around. I'll
Okay.
see where I can get with
I'm with
it
you. Yeah.
and what I can do with it. So
So Jonathan, you were asking me where does story stocks come from? Like that. Like if I notice it, then it's obviously being pumped loud enough that even I could hear it without my hearing aids on.
yeah, but
That's how it
this
becomes.
thing has been they've been
When I
talking
can
about
no longer
biotech.
ignore it.
They've been
When I
talking
can
about
no.
biotech for 6 months already, and it just started to pop now, right?
Yeah.
So that's the creative part about it is, and then some things are hot and you don't know why. Like why is ground transportation so hot, right? Like I don't know. Like Wern, like what's this?
Got to be historical
Great
value.
stock. Anyway,
Historical range. Got to be.
yeah. Anyway, but that's all I've got. I'm just report. This is what I've been working on because I don't want to trade right now, and the shop's too busy anyway. I can't pay
It's
attention.
yeah. It's brutal.
So
Hey, I just uploaded the Trail Boss flashcards 002 slide deck. And Jonathan, that's what happens when you spend 8 hours to 12 hours a day exploring your mind with AI and drinking heavily and and then ask it to summarize and synthesize and build knowledge maps. There is there's a year's MBA or doctoral dissertation just in those slides.
Do I need to be
I can
drinking
make a
heavily in order to
consulting.
interpret them?
No, that's the
Okay.
beauty of it is it's written in a McKinsey style that is intuitively obvious. Enjoy the Trail Boss stuff. You'll recognize a
yeah,
lot of the things. Like you've heard me BSing around about the Golden Bridge and all that stuff for a couple years now. That thing is a high-powered business consultancy theory of practice right now. That's how good that is. It's getting no traction.
Where'd you post them? Did you put them in the
In
coaching?
the chat. In the chat,
Oh,
there's
here.
a
Oh, I
TB
didn't see it.
flashcards 002.
Oh, there we go. Okay, perfect.
So that's the standard that you want it to create when you have this long, involved text dialogue that goes back and forth. And you say, hey, summarize that whole thing into one slide in McKinsey style, executive summary, clear, coherent, concise, complete.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Yeah, it's terrifying.
Wow. Okay.
It is absolutely terrifying. Well, you look like some kind of freaking internet terrorist there, Luke Crawford. All you're lacking is the Guy Fawkes mask, and you'd be anonymous, you know,
No, I
dropping
couldn't do
into
any of that.
dropping into Terra. That's what you would say if you were anonymous.
You have to stay warm when you're writing a manifesto.
Yeah, no, it's freezing
What you
here.
got going on, brother?
Um, yeah, so it's been a minute. Hey, Mav. Probably about 4 months, I'd say, since I've checked in.
Yeah.
Um, Still working on the mechanical stuff, but the raw edge is really thin, about 2.23, and then worked out that the indicator wasn't exactly what the bot was going
Yeah.
to trade. And when you put spread and commission into it, it cuts it down to about 0.08 to 0.12 per trade. So I wasn't a big fan of it. And so now I've gone back and worked out exactly how Claude can get the data from just all the tick data from CTrader and then work out a better strategy, but with the same sort of system in that looking at RLXD, P-star flips, all that sort of jazz.
Yeah.
But then looking at, say, a 10 range chart on the Aussie dollar for the initial trade, and then putting additional scoops on say an 8 up range chart for when there's a Carter 2 movement. And then once that happens, it's a stop limit order as opposed to a stop market order. So that will reduce your slippage issue. And then once it gets the PSAR overtakes the entry or PSAR overtakes a certain position, then put it to increase the stop loss to that point. So you can actually see when those Carter 2 movements are on a lower range chart as opposed to just on a 10 range chart. Because I'm looking at that daily when it's actually happening. And there's two movements there, like within 3 hours from 10 o'clock until 1 o'clock. So it's there. I just need to work out what the parameters are. That's
I
where
know
I'm at.
Ashe and Sam, Ashe Brambot and Sam Thorpe are on the Monday night calls, and they're two young coding monsters, right? So I want you to listen to the last 3 months of the Monday nights. Ashe is doing something with scaling into positions. They're using Renko bars and PSAR off that, and retroactively calculating the length of trend based on the number of Renko bars uninterrupted, and then using that to decide how far along in the 9 innings am I? Have I gone past what the average one is? So I should be more sensitive be more reluctant to add, as opposed to early days. I'm willing to add. I would say that they're also pretty darn good at the automating and the roboticizing of things, to the point where they're looking to make a money management firm or sell the dashboard. So I think that that would be worth you listening to and maybe talking to them about, because the dashboard they're building for us is going to be able to turn our stated rules into robotic execution quickly, so that we can get sort of a standard execution platform for every rule set that we can define, whether it's intraday or swing or position. So that's worth.
Would you mind if I joined in? on that group on Monday?
I'm trying to push you in that direction, quick, fast, and in a hurry. So remind me also to send you the Discord server.
No,
I set up
okay. Is there a different one? Or the one you've got?
it's the same one. If I don't
Yeah,
remember if
someone.
I,
Yeah. I've
yeah, that's
messaged Ashay. He's just
yeah.
too busy to get back
Yeah,
to it. That's
he's
cool.
good people. I've known him for 15 years. He's a good guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
There was something else that I was going to suggest to you. Just slipped my doggone mind. It'll come back. So anyway.
And you're right if I join the Monday night
Yeah, that's
call?
good. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, just drop in.
Yeah. Same time? Just
That
on
is
Monday night.
8. Yeah, that's 8 p.m. Central Standard. This
8
one is
p.m. Central.
7 p.m. Central. So they're 1 hour later. That's the regular time for
Right.
Mondays. It's always been, these guys wanted to go a little earlier.
Okay. Well, I'll get something
So,
together and I'll put it
yeah.
into that chat and then go from there. That's fine.
Yeah.
And remember about a year ago, maybe 18 months ago, I said there was a professor at the local university who
Yeah.
wanted to talk about, yeah, he's got back in contact with me
Okay.
and he wants to do some more research and he's got a PhD student who wants to do some work. So I'll probably do this brief for the chat on Monday night and I'll
Yeah.
send it through to him and
Yeah.
then we'll work out what we do from there.
Sounds good. Happy to help.
Cool. Thanks for that.
Yeah. Let me, I wanted to share something real quick. You haven't seen this one before, I don't think so. Try to find my share button. Oh, there he is. If it was a snake, it would have bit me. So this is this is just how I'm brute force the modified sniper. Yeah, so let me know when you can see that.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so all I'm doing is this is like a 1 to N list of symbols of interest. The numbers over in here just say what category it's in. Like 1 is the Dow, 2 is the ATFs, 3 is stocks of interest or something like that. Everything over here is just all calculations from this point over. It's calculating the this one is the average of the 5-day range percentage z-score. So it's like that's the percentage and that's the z-score, or the other way around. Yeah, anyway. And then this is all the data, and it goes back 150 days. So there's 150 columns of data that measures some things. And all I'm interested in the sniper is first the trade location. Let me make this easier to see. At some point, I might have to replace this 5-year-old laptop. Just, I'm ashamed to admit I got a powerful AI desktop that I bought almost a year ago that I haven't finished assembling. And all I got to do is hook up some cables. I'm such a creature of habit. It's disgusting. Yeah, anyway. So all I'm interested on this is trade location. Where is it on the 10-day, 30-day, and 150-day NDX? So that's just going to be a number between 0 and 1.0, right? And it highlights 4 different categories. If it's 0 to 0.2, it's red. 0.2 to 0.5, it's yellow. 0.5 to 0.8 is white. 0.8 to 1.0 is, there we go. That's what I'm trying to show. View. Zoom to selection. That should be easier to see now. Okay. Yeah, so this So this NDX is the 150-day, 30-day, and 10-day look back. So that's simply given trade location during the look back period on a scale of 0 to 1.0. And then volatility is looking at these are the Z-scores of the 5-day range percentage. So it goes back the last 5 days, day -1 to day -5, finds the highest high, lowest low, divided by closing price. And that gives you a range percentage of the last 5 days. If it's sideways with very small ranges each day, then that thing's going to be really, really small compared to the previous 150 5-day periods. Right. So, like right now, GDX has a 5-day Z score of negative 0.01. So it's right at the average of the last 150 days of 5-day range percentages. So if we were to look at GDX, we'd see that it's nothing unusual there at all. In fact, that's the height of normal. However, if I looked at AGG down here, I would see, oh, he's got a 5-day Z score of 1.34. So that tells me AGG, the bond, the aggregate bond, is exceptionally volatile for the last 5 days compared to itself. Check or hold on that. So there's about 200 symbols in that stack. The only ones I'm interested in, first I'm going to look at the exceptional volatile one. So I hit my little button, runs the macro. So out of that stack of 200 symbols, there's about 10 of them that have a 5-day Z score greater than 1. So these are, compared to their own usual 5-day behavior, are exceptionally volatile. So I'm automatically interested in. The next thing I'm interested in is the location. So I have it sorted by the 10-day NDX. And it is only going to find the ones that are above 0.8 or below 2.0. So it turns out that all of the volatile symbols in that whole stack, they are all in the bottom of their 10-day range. There's no strong stock in the top of its 10-day range that is also 5-day volatile. So there's no runaway upward moves anywhere in my symbol stack. Now, these other two, the 30-day and the 150-day look back, also give me a sense of where they are in those look back periods. The one that really strikes me as unusual is Coca-Cola. Its 150-day look back is at 0.75. So it's in the upper quarter of its last 150 days. But its 30-day move, it's in the bottom third of its 30-day move, and it's in the bottom 7% of its 10-day move. And it's a very volatile stock. But today's 1-day Z score is negative 0.5. So I want you to imagine what that's going to look like. It's going to look like for most of the year, it's been way up. The last 30 days, it's been sliding badly. And the last 10 days have been absolutely horrible. But today, and the last 5 days have been an exceptional sell-off. But today was a little doji. That's what Coca-Cola should look like. I automatically love what Coca-Cola is going to look like. I hope. And here is your there's your 150-day look back. 150-day look back is the purple box. So its price is right here at the crosshairs. So it's in the top quarter, but the last 30 days, it's in the bottom third. And the last 10 days, which is the blue box, it's near the bottom of that whole thing. And the yellow box is today's move. That's exactly what I want. So if it fails below the 10-day low, that thing's going to the 30-day low fast, because the next nearest support level is down here at 79.25. So that's a 2-to-1 drop if it fails. And then if it fails below that one, it goes down to the previous RL10, which is 77.58. And so that's about a 5-to-1 downside. But if it breaks out of today's range, it's 5-to-1 to the top of the 10-day. So it is perfectly postured for what I want. And the red box is the 5-day range. You can see the 5-day range is as big as the 10-day range, which is the blue box, and it's almost as big as the 30-day range. So this thing is wildly in play. And if you were to take a look at it without all this extra crap, the last 5 days, it's gone from 85.50 to 80 or to 81. So that's a 5% drop in Coca-Cola, and it's in the middle of failing again. Just crossed its SMA 30. If we saw that on a 30-minute chart, yeah, this thing is ready to collapse. But if it doesn't collapse, if that actually holds as a double bottom, then 83 is in range. Beauty. That's all I need. So Coca-Cola is an item of interest. So out of those 200 symbols, that's one I can construct a compound critical state from very easily. Now, it turns out that all of the other ones that are volatile, they're all weak. And then the other beauty is that almost all of the other ones are all getting murdered. Now, take a look at Tesla. Its 5-day volatility has a z-score of 3.55. Its 1-day z-score is over 2.5 compared to the last 150 days. And compared to the last 30 days, it's a z-score of 2. So today, by all measures, was an extraordinarily large range day and a 5-day range for Tesla. And it's in the bottom 4% of its 10 days, 3% of its 30, and 2% of its 150. Now, this is almost like cherry picking, but it's kind of true. Tesla yesterday was also the symbol of interest. That was the trade frame. So yesterday, Tesla was up here in that tiny little doji. And so the logic was, if Tesla goes below the low, you want to be short immediately. And today, all it did was gap down and then get absolutely murdered all day. So if you just took that one rule, and then on a 5-minute chart, it even doesn't take much. The trade of the day was here. Here is your 5-day or your 5-minute OR5. Sorry, it doesn't let me draw that separately. I got to turn it off. Yeah, if you just take the breakout of the OR5 or even the OR10, as I have been doing typically, but the OR10, you're short at right here, 333, and you get a move to 318. That's 15. That's a 5% sell-off. It never even looked back. And in Tesla, your R5 is like $5. So if you were trading 400, you'd have had 80 shares, and you'd have made 3R on the first. just the move down into here. And then the rest of the day was equally shitty. It ended up going all the way down to 314 from an early entry of 330. So anyway, the point I want to make is, Kevin, that's where if filters like that are of interest to you out of your stock selection of 450, you could turn that into a set of rules for them to filter for you very easily. So this little button is just it's a macro in Excel to find the ones that are volatile and extraordinary 10-day NDX, both of those, and then sort it by the 10-day NDX. So Tesla was the most volatile and the weakest of the week. Now, if I want to look at the quiet, I can just hit my other button, and then magic should occur. Now, what this is going to do is find 5-day Z-scores that are negative 0.5 or less, or worse, I should say. And then it's going to find the 10-day NDX that is either really strong, like the top two, JP Morgan and XLI are in the top 20% of their range. But all the other ones, EFA, SPY, Qs, Diamonds, Europe, and Oracle, are all in the bottom of their 10% range. So that's all channeling signals, right? Because they're in that bottom 10%. And then you look at Oracle, it just is getting murdered. But today was a 5-day Z-score of -1. So that means perhaps the selling pressure is over in Oracle. And if we go look at Oracle, is on its daily chart. Yeah. So Oracle has dropped in the last, 35 days. It's gone from 250 to 120. So that's a 50% sell-off in Oracle. It is making new lows on the 150-day look back and the 30 look back and the 10 look back. So this is Godzilla all day. So tomorrow I will tell you automatically I'm going to be long at 124.5 or short at 119. Now, if you had taken yesterday's doji and you said, if it goes below 124.50, I want to be short right away, you'd have gotten this move in Oracle. It was at its extreme. Here's your first bar is your OR10. You'd have gotten long initially, and then when it crosses the VWAP, you cover or you exit. And then when it breaks down, you're getting short at about 122.75, and you get a nice move down to 119. So 3% move. Very easy to trade Oracle in that fashion. So I say that to say, out of my 200 symbols of interest each day, this little filter finds me the ones that are in sniper extreme conditions for both volatility and 10-day location. And then I can use the 1-day volatility and the 30 and 150-day NDX to see if there's interesting stories. But it gives me about anywhere from 5 to 10 symbols a day for the last 3 months. Every day it's been like that. And every one of them is interesting. And what I do is I find the ones that have the biggest gaps up and down, and I pick the top 2 up gaps and the top 2 down gaps, and I trade them with OR10s and just see what happens and try to manage my risk. And that's my approach to adapting to this intraday only, no follow through kind of a market. It turns out that the volatile weak ones, if I go back to that was finding like the Tesla and it'll find Tesla, Disney, Home Depot. If I look at Disney and Home Depot, And then just look at our dailies. That's actually a way to find some reasonable downtrending swings. Like when you get this move over in here and it rolls over, you can be short, caught a two short cover. It makes a lower high. You get caught a two short right here and you're still short. So you're short Disney from 100 and it's down at 92. So that's an 8% gain in 10. Yeah. So Disney, what was the other? Home Depot. That one surprises me. They're kind of a great company, but this thing's ready to collapse further. You can see right here that if this little doji from today breaks, there's no support level on that one until 30-day low. So that's a 5% move from here just to get back to the next support level. On the other hand, if you're a fund manager and you need to own large cap great American companies, you might be willing to buy Home Depot on sale. It was at 360 and is now down at 320. So that's a 12% sell off. And it's had two big legs down. You know, that's probably an overreaction. And today finished in a doji. It closed about where it opened. And it was a small range day. So that could be so that's one that I can stalk as a look for I'm looking for equally persuasive arguments for big up moves and big down moves when I'm looking at the sniper strategy. So in terms of just simply quickly finding the pattern that I want from a large data set, that's one way to think about that, Kevin. And I think you can connect 1-day moves with longer term swings and build swing positions in the same way. Anyway, I wanted to just share that as an idea for how to quickly find ideas that are of interest.
So you're grabbing data every day for that. Populate your
Yeah, this is just an XLQ file. It's an Excel spreadsheet that uses XLQ to get the closing data. And then all it's doing is just it's using this region over here to find the daily ranges and indexes and volatility stats like that. So
okay, yeah.
Ken, is the Z5, it's the last 5 days compared to the last 150 days?
yeah, what that does is let me draw my
Okay.
sketch on there.
And then the Z1, 150 and 30, that's
Yeah,
today.
so this one, the
One day.
Z5, this is a 5-day range. So if it
Okay.
has, if that was the last 5 days, so maybe it looks like this, maybe that's the shape of the last 5 days. So here was my 5-day high, and there's my 5-day low. So it takes the highest high and the lowest low of the last 5 days, divides that by today's closing price, and that's going to equal the 5-day range percentage. Check.
Yeah.
So that was day -1 back to day -5. So then it's going to go back to day -2 to day -6 and compute that. So it's going to find, by going back 150 days, it actually finds 146 5-day ranges. Check or hold.
Yeah.
So it'll then find the max,
Okay.
the min, the average, and then the standard deviation plus or -1. And then it uses the average plus the standard deviation to compute the z-score. So if it has a z-score of 3, that means it's 3 standard deviations above the 146 period average. Okay. So that tells you that Tesla's 5-day range is extraordinarily large.
It's 3.5 standard deviations.
Yeah.
Okay.
And just compared to itself, because I'm trying to measure, I'm using volatility as the measurement of the anxiety, fear, and greed of the active traders of that symbol. Check or hold. Yeah. Now, I'm looking at the 1-day Z-score of volatility. I'm using 2 measures just so that I would have a complicated answer. Not really, but so the first one, the Z150, is looking at 1-day range per, it's just high minus low divided by price, not true range, just the size of the daily bar itself, because that's the only piece that I can trade intraday. I can't trade the gap. I can only trade the price movement from open, high, low, close. Check or hold.
Got it.
So that one looks at the last 150 days. Again, finds the max, min, average, then the SD, and then provides a Z-score of today's, this is today's range. So the Z-score of today compared to a 150-day look back. My argument would be that that is a true representation of all its many different phases and life cycles. There's at least 2 quarterly earnings statements in there. There was a bunch of weird news and thunder runs and all that stuff. So the 150 gives a representative sample of its total typical behavior, if I can say it that way. And then the 1-day or the 30-day look back, the Z1 parentheses 30, is only looking at the last 30 days of 1-day ranges. So this is a much more current proxy for their level of agitation. I'm going to try to find one and see if there's something weird. Yeah. So if I look, Tesla is the best example. If I look at the last 150 days in Tesla, today's Z-score is almost 3. If I look at just the last 30 days, it's only 2, which means that, relatively speaking, the last 30 days have found Tesla to be much more jumpy intraday for the last 30 days than it was in the previous 120 or 150. So that means that Tesla is experiencing short-term, exaggerated panic and fear and greed. That makes it a really good 1-day trader. You combine that with a 3.55 5-day Z-score and the fact that it is absolutely crashing, making new lows on every look-back period, plus all that volatility. Dude, that is the poster child for manic depressive ideal intraday trade candidate. Check or hold.
You said that the Tesla's 30-day was more jumpy than the last
Yeah,
150
yeah, because the last, here's the logic. Even though the Z-score is smaller,
yeah.
it's smaller because the standard deviation is larger. Like it's the same, like the 30 days of range of the last 30 have been uniformly large. So the standard deviation is large. And so today's big range is not all, it's only 2 standard deviations unusual compared to the last 30 days, but compared to the last 150 days when it was a lot more quiet, it's a Z-score of 3. So it's counterintuitive,
Yeah.
but a smaller z-score recently means they are becoming accustomed to it making large moves.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, it's not intuitive, but it's also true.
Okay. Well,
Now here's what's interesting on if we look at Google, his 5-day z-score is 2.6, but his 1-day it's slightly above average for the last 30 days, and just it's still within the bounds of normal for the last 150 days. So what that typically means is that you've had 5 regular days in a row. The individual bars have not been large, but the aggregate 5-day move as a percentage from high to low is very large. So that's sort of like an intercontinental train just chug and keeps moving a standard distance, but it just keeps going and going in that same direction. So now if I go look at Google, we'll see if what I just said is true.
yeah,
Yep.
that's really counterintuitive. I'm not
Yeah.
100%
So here's
following that.
yeah. So this is how you interpret that. So today's 1-day z-score, the size of that bar compared to the last 30 days was like 0.12. So this is absolutely normal size daily range from
Right.
high to the low.
Right.
However, the 5-day range is this. Sorry, that includes that one. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there's the 5-day high, and there's the 5-day low. It went from 114 to 86. That's 28 on 120 on 20. That's about a minus 20%. So that is an extremely large 5-day range. But this is a normal 1-day range. Now, it turns out that that huge gap had a lot to do with it. But you can't trade the gap intraday. The only size of the move that you can count on is getting a normal to a +1 z-score. I can only count on it moving $7 a day. That's a normal sized range for it to trade. So all of that was lost in the what makes this really exceptional was like if you were look at those 2 days were huge, and maybe that one was huge, but all the other bars on there are kind of standard size. So this moves a regular amount, $7 to $10 a day. But the last 5 days, this thing is hugely in play. Now, if you were a big mutual fund and you needed to buy high tech, large cap stocks that have great business models, you might be really interested in Google at this price level. Because here's a great big support level. And the last time it was here, around 80, it doubled to 155 and has now come all the way back to here. So if this holds, if this is a support level that holds, somewhere in the next 10 days, I would expect to see it kind of bottom out and find support north of 80. And then if it starts to break out of that box, there's a target, there's a target, there's a target. That's my long-term argument for the upside of Google. However, if it just continues to fail, I'm going to say if it gets below 70, now there is long-term structural scunion being brought on this thing. And I have to go back all the way to, man, this is how the mighty have fallen. If that's a 76, if that fails, here's the next support level. 60. If that fails, here's the next support level. 30. 60. 75. And it's currently trading at 88. So that's my downside. So out of this little box, I absolutely don't know which way it's going to go. I will predict that 3 months from now, Google will not be between 92 and 84. I'm willing to bet it will not be in that range 3 months from now. So that says I have a straddle that I can play. And here's a target. There's the 30-day. Here's a PSAR. So those are my targets on the downside and the upside. I could take a long-term straddle option in that thing and just leave it alone for 3 months. You know when it's really going to be amazing? December of this year. I'll guarantee you, I'm willing to pay a premium to say it will not be between 92 and 86. It's either going to be up in here or down in there. Could you imagine that after the election is over in November, we get rid of all the Republican idiots? And there's such a great relief that the adults are back in charge that everybody wants to buy the tech leaders of AI. I mean, that's Google, for crying out loud. So there's two different ways I can play that. One is I can have a directional opinion. And what I can do is I can just trade this short-term daily, and let's see if it starts breaking down, and I can start kata 2 swing trading on the way down. Or maybe it finds support here and then breaks out and then starts doing kata 2s, grinding its way north. I could turn daily trades like this into a composite swing trade in either direction, or I could play this as a year-long options play and say I'm willing to go in either direction. Now, I'm not an options guy, but that's what an options guy might do. So I say that just to say this right here in Google is a compound critical state. Huge gap down, 20% sell-off, gapped all the way down to an important support level where the last time it pulled back to here, it did this. But you could imagine how it could go this far. You could imagine how it could go from 82 to 66 in 2 days. So there's a short-term trade in there tomorrow. I don't have to have any overnight risk to know that tomorrow Google and Tesla are going to be amazing trades. Amazing. I don't know what direction, though. So what am I going to do? Either they close here. Tomorrow, they're either going to gap up big or gap down big. I'm going to put an R5 bracket, whichever way it gaps, I'm going to put an R5 on either side of it, which means in GGLL, which is the double Google, and R5 is $2. So let's say it opened exactly at 86 and there's no gap. Right? It's going to gap. I'm going to I'm going to put a $2 bracket on either side. And as soon as it moves $2 away from the open, that's the direction I'm going in. And then I'm going to use a $2 stop. And as soon as I can, if it goes up, as soon as I can, God dang it. If it goes up, as soon as I can, I'm going to get my stop to no lose plus dinner for two. If it goes down, I'm going to try to get my stop. And then I'm just going to manage the trade. I'm going to keep 70% of the maximum favorable excursion. I'm going to do that tomorrow with Google and Tesla and Oracle. I'm going to use the double leverage Google because why not? It's cheaper. Google, Tesla, Oracle, and I don't know, one other thing. But that's what 1 day compound critical state trading looks like. And I find those symbols very simply. I'll do it with SOXL too. Just using this little, that's all the information that I need to be able to find compound critical states. It's ready to gap large and pop tomorrow. So all I got to do is find 10 symbols that are in that kind of condition. There was 15 of them today, and I'll just rank those 15, and I'll pick the two biggest up and the two biggest down gaps, and then I'll put an R5 bracket. There's the open. I'll put an R5 bracket on either side of it, or I'll just find the OR10. If that's the opening range 10-minute, just put a box around that. And then when this price, if it goes out of that box, I'm short here. If it goes out of the box that way, I'm long here. And I can use an R5 as my initial risk. And then again, get my stop to no lose. And now I'm free and clear. It's just a science project. I've been trading that way every day for the last 4 months. Ever since the semiconductors cracked. That was the end of the story stocks. And ever since that day, if I go look at SOXL, yeah, that's a 3-day chart. Let me go to the daily chart. This is the day the semiconductors cracked. Would we agree? That was a market regime, and then there was the big gap up, and then this was a market leg. This was the Kata 2 market legs. This was the crack. And now everything from here over, that market looks a lot different than everything on this side. This is short term. Look at the size of those gaps and the size of the daily bars. You can't swing trade that, but you can day trade the heck out of it. Until this whole thing, I just think it's going to look like that until November. That's one man's opinion. It's one prediction. It's not binding, but that's what I think is going to happen. I wouldn't be surprised. And all I'm going to do until then is just, I'm going to pay attention to the BMR, my long-term position trading, no swing trading, and then just intraday. And I'll use the money that I would normally use for swing trading and just roll it in so I can get more day trades. That's all I'm doing. That's trying to be adaptive. The point I want to make on this is that the sniper is a certain mentality. It needs location and volatility. And for short-term trading, what it needs is abnormal volatility. It's either abnormally volatile or it's abnormally quiet. And then I use the 10-day NDX to find the extreme swing trade move. It's either going to continue or it's going to sharply reverse. And just follow price.
It sounds like the location is definitely important. You've got your 3 time frames, and then the Z5.
Yeah.
You can tell it's a lot more activity in the last 5 days than usual, but the Z1s may or may not mean anything. I mean,
Yeah,
they may
what
be
I
low just
really
because.
I like looking for this. I like seeing these that are 5-day volatile enough to be really volatile, but the 1-day Z scores are abnormally quiet. That means the 5-day looks something like this. It was a big range. And then maybe today was a tiny little doji. Perfect. Find the
Rather than
it's
having
too
big,
it's
big
too
range
narrow
candles.
intraday to trade. But if it breaks out of there, that should be a
Yeah.
green line. In this case, use the daily bars as a risk. Like, you can't tell me it's irrational to think it could go visit the 5-day high. It was just there. And you can't tell me it's irrational to say that it could go visit the 5-day low. Hey, guess what? If it goes up there and gets above the 5-day high, guess what that's going to be? It's going to be that. And if it gets down here and that support level fails, guess what it's going to do? It's going to do that. Today, as we speak, what do I prefer? I would love to see it fail and fail again, because that's where all the big tech giants are getting slaughtered. So good for me, bad for them.
So if the Z1 scores are 0 and it's got a big Z5, that's
Yeah,
just
if
telling
it's
you it's traveled
now
far
remember,
on a normal range.
a
And then
Z
it's,
score of 0, like all of these that are in the white,
yeah,
those are normal. Those are close to the average. These that are in red are very quiet, and these that are in the green are very noisy.
they just
Because
have
it's
really
the
big candles.
because I need abnormal. I would love to see abnormal 1-day volatility. This one, the abnormal large volatility 1-day, says today was a big day in Tesla's range. All of these right here, Walmart, listen to what they have in common. Walmart, McDonald's, consumer staples, and Coca-Cola. What kind of companies do they sound like? The Dow Jones Industrials 30, the
Yeah.
non-tech, the non-tech portion of the Dow, which, oh, by the way, S&P consumer staple, if you just wanted to play the sector, XLP's not stupid. And consumer discretionary is also not stupid. That's more like being in play on 1-day, though, because the Z-score was 1 and 0.9. So that's actually a relatively larger 1-day move. But consumer staples are being ignored, and that has the components of Walmart, McDonald's, and Coca-Cola. That's your hamburger and a Coke and a day trip to Walmart all in one trade. That's the opposite of the tech bros. So DIA is a good expression of that. Whereas the Qs, and certainly SOXL are the expression of the Tesla, Oracle, NVIDIA, Palantir tech bros, right? So there's a lot of information just in that little stinking table. You know what I mean? This one up in here, this is the summary table. The average 10-day location of those 200 stocks is at 0.4. So the market as a whole is below its 50-yard line. It's drifting towards value. And it's actually in a better location on its 150 and 30-day. So it tells you the last 10 days have been more of a sell-off than anything. And the average is unsurprisingly right near, the average is near a z-score of 0, so that doesn't tell you much. So that's that. So I don't mean to distract you from all the things you're doing, but hey, you may recall that the guy that has the worst z-score of all, Tesla, he's that guy. All right, Lisa, what you got for us?
Well, I would like to go over my system, but I don't know if it's a good time to start now, just because it's
Here's
late.
what I'd like you to do is get it in writing,
Yes, I have that.
one page or less.
Yep.
Send it to me. I'll send it to the guys,
Okay,
and then we'll handle it
that's
that way.
better. Yeah,
Okay.
that's better. Yep. Other than
All right.
that, that's
That
better.
gives us,
Keep
because
what I'm
we're into
doing.
it. We're 2 hours into this,
Yep.
and
Yep.
starting to be a full day. All right.
Yep.
All right. I owe you what I owe you. I have notes on what I'll send you, so we'll keep it moving. Ciao for now.
Thanks so much, guys.
Everybody.
Appreciate it. Have a great night.